Good morning.
So we're starting a new discussion on the topic, what is beyond good and evil? The good, the bad, or indifferent. These are the three opinions we have about the world. If we like something, we run for it. If we hate something, we run away from it. And if we are indifferent about something where we don't have any opinion, good or bad, we don't care. In fact, we have to go through that situation, we get bored because we have no interest. So either way, something that you're indifferent to also gets bad, becomes bad in a way, because you want to get away from it. Somebody takes you to a movie that you hate, and then you want to walk away.
Right.
It may not be hateable, it may not be that good, but you feel that, oh, you wasted your time,
waste
at
of
least,
time,
you know, so
right.
things like that. So, but our mind is trained to look at the life in two ways, good and the bad. The problem is, there is something beyond all that. And how do we get to that spot? Because our running, our journey is continuously happening. And we've been running for generations and lives and multiple lives and all that, in the quest of something that's going to make us feel good. Ultimately, we want to enjoy life. And in that process, we are running. But life is not full of roses all the time. It brings a lot of situations which we don't enjoy, so we run away from the situation that we don't enjoy or we hate literally, and again trying to go for something good, that we think it's good. We go through the life running and running and running, and then we think that we get tired ultimately. Our running does not take us anywhere, and then we don't have any peace. Our mind is continuously thinking of the things that we enjoy, and we look forward to those things. And the things we did not enjoy, we keep on cursing for days and days and days. And ultimately, our mind gets fatigued. And then we say, okay, let me go into religion, at least dharmas, all those will give me some peace, will connect me. But they don't help either, because they give you another set of destinations where you have to run to, moksha and nark and hell, and if you do this you will go to moksha, and if you do this you go to nirvana and this samadhi, and all these things are future goals that you don't have it right now. So again, the religion splits your mind. So all this thing is happening at the mind level. We have not evolved. The only time the biggest evolution took place when from the monkeys and we were walking on four legs, and we became two-legged animals. That's it. The rest of the evolution has not happened yet. The next evolution has to happen at the mind level. But at the mind level, we are so caught up in the good, the bad, good, bad, good, bad, rag, dvesh. All these things are happening because of our likings and dislikings. So when we take the help of the religions, they give you, say, this is good, this is evil. You speak the truth, that is the good. You speak, lie, that's an evil. All these things. So they give you the parameters where you have to follow. And those parameters do not help, because that's the same thing we've been doing in our society. Oh, this guy is rich, this guy is poor. I want to become rich, I don't want to be poor. This and that, and I like this girl, I don't like this girl. I like this man, I don't like this man. All these likings and dislikings, we've been doing it for thousands of years. And the religions don't help us either. Long and long scriptures have been written to give us the advice that what are the good things, what are the bad things. And then you keep reading this stuff, and then he says, yes, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try, not realizing that running at the mind level, running is at the mind level. Mind makes you live in the dichotomy, in the two things, one over the other. So you keep on making choices. One is better than the other. That's why this has to go this way. But the dawd, the race of life
Goes on.
always goes on. And it never stops. When the race stops, that's when you have made an evolutionary progress. From the four-legged animal, we would become two-legged animal. From the animals which are living, literally we are animals, from the animals living at the mind level, we will go beyond the mind level. Then we have made some evolutionary progress. So in 100,000 or whatever the million year that the man has been around, we haven't really made any progress. From the ancient times, when the man was saying, I'm hungry, I like this animal, I don't like this animal, I want to climb this tree. We've been making decisions all our life, but we have not reached to the state of choicelessness. So we want to understand what is the mechanism, how the mind operates. Mind is caught up between good and the bad, and that really does not give us any peace. The real peace comes in when our mind does not exist. Mind is the one which gives you the suffering. Mind makes you decide between the good and the bad. So until the mind exists, you will not have any peace. And whatever peace you may be feeling, he says, well, at the end of the day, I work and then I sit and relax, listen to music, that's peace for me. But that's relative peace. It's not an absolute peace. Because the situation changes. All of a sudden your friend calls and he says, I'm coming over. Tell your wife to cook some food. The peace is gone. It's just an example. So it's all relative. But you want a peace that's present in every single situation. That's an absolute peace. That's the bliss. So running does not help us. The religion gives you another name to this, is the moralities, the ethics. They have set up the principles and guidelines that this is moral, this is immoral. This is good, this is bad. This is all those divisions, they just give you different name, but we keep on sticking to those moralistic attitudes. And if somebody is moralistic, we consider him as a better person than somebody else. But we don't know what is happening inside, right? So we keep on sticking to the prescribed guidelines. Whether you are Hindu or the Muslim or a Jain, you have a series of guidelines which are given to you, and they make you believe that these are the good things, these are the bad things. Eating 6 o'clock or before the sunset is good. After sunset is not good. But all these things were written thousands of years back. All these things have lost value, lost meaning even. Now, of course, in the old days, there was hardly any light. There was, no fuel was available. Eating after 6 o'clock, after the sunset, you will see there could be bugs going into your food. So it's to protect you against, bad disease. And of course, to protect the tiny bugs, which, by innocently may walk into your food and you may end up killing them. Both ways, it was not healthy for you and for the bugs. So Mahavir Swami says, don't eat after dark. But now, mechanically, we keep on sticking to the same thing. Don't eat after dark. Now we have lights all over. In fact, night light is even better than daylight, sometimes, but we keep on sticking to the same old customs. We get locked up. And those are beliefs. Beliefs have no value. Beliefs change over the period of times. What you consider good right now may become evil later on, and vice versa. You may consider Yudhishthir as a man of truth, but gambling was his passion. In those days, gambling was not considered evil. It was considered okay. It was a social custom. To the point of putting your own wife into gambling thing.
In the game.
It was an unusual thing if we think it from, because all our minds have changed. Our ideas and our beliefs have changed. So now our assessing parameters have changed. Our measuring rods have changed. Now our measuring rods have become bigger. So anybody who does not fit into that, nowadays it will be difficult to call Yudhishthira. If he gets born again today, we will not call him Mahatma. He will be considered a gambler. He should go into Atlantic City. So the thing is that the beliefs and customs and all these things are only at the mind level. And we give too much importance to the mind, and that's where our suffering happens. There is a nice story in the Chinese literature. It was written by Liu Tzu. Liu Tzu was a great philosopher in China. And one of the stories says, and it's a story, but there are people in the north. They cut their hair short and they wear long dresses. People in the middle part of the country, they have long hair and they wear short dresses. There's the other part of the country, they have different customs. they tie their wives to the back of their dead husbands and then let them in the jungle to die. Because they believe that wives should not live. Like in India, we used to have sati traditions, that after the husband is dead, the meaning of a life for a wife is gone.
Right.
At that time, wife was considered a rag doll, that you can do whatever you feel like. The sansar used to kick females around the way they wanted, but the customs were so deep-rooted that was going on. And they said there are some African tribes, once their parents are dead, they take their skins off and make shoes out of it. They think that's a respect for their elders before they bury them or whatever. So a lot of these things are considered barbaric, but only because we think we are civilized. And they may think that it's a waste. I went to South Africa. Now, talk about being a vegetarian, being a vegan, considering the animals and this and that. And we had a tour guides. They took us around on the safari and all those things. And they were so much resistant against, even because they are not allowed to pick up even a dead animal from the guarded area, which is the state parks, in the Kruger National Parks and all that. And for them, they say, well, it's a waste. That an animal is dead, then yes, still we cannot have it, because otherwise it could have been a meal for us. It could feed the hungry people and this and that. But not realizing that there are other mouths that needs to be fed, or even on a dead carcasses. So they don't think of the ecosystem. But then again, everybody has a different views of life. People who are vegetarian, they cannot understand how can you be non-vegetarian, and vice versa. And they say, how come you are doing this and that? So belief war has been going on for thousands of years. We have to learn to understand what are the beliefs and what are the real truths of life. Until we understand that beliefs are given to us by somebody else, then only we understand that there is a life beyond the good, the bad, evil, all these things. We have to rise above. Then only the real progress can happen in life. The progress happens only by the spiritual conscious awareness. Then only real transformation takes place. Otherwise, all these goods and all those moralities, ethics, behavior will be thrown upon you, but has no value. They say you should tell the truth. Fine. But everybody knows that. And yet, we lie right and left. People lie right and left. And inside, transformation has not taken place. Because we have not understood that what those things do to you. Until you start realizing what it does to you inside when you lie or when you say the truth. For example, a situation comes in and you thought that it was reasonable to lie. Now, lie is something you created out of nothing. It's your baby. It has nothing to do with the truth. Truth is truth. Whatever events took place, that was the truth. The maximum amount of spiritual force is in you right now, is in me right now, is in him right now. And when there is an interactive consciousness taking place, it creates an event. Now that is the truth. That is what is happening right now. 2 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, you leave from here. And then all of a sudden, your interpretation, whatever you say and how you describe the event changes. It will never be able to describe 100% in a perfect way, the way it is happening right now. So the reality is the event that is happening is the truth. And there is no other truth. Truth stands by itself because there is no dispute about it. But when you lie, then the lie is your creation. You are the Brahma for that lie. You created. Now you have to defend. It's like your own baby. Now you have to walk around with that baby. You have to take care of its needs. You have to make sure it doesn't die out. It's like fostering your own kid. And look how much efforts you will have to go through to defend that lie. And you might even have to use the other measures. You have to use other weapons to maybe become angry, to defend it. Or series of other lies to defend it. If somebody comes and questions you, you become very defensive. All those efforts will be needed, and at that time you will be spending a lot of time at the mind level. But truth If you speak to the truth, if you speak the truth, you stick to the truth, there is nothing, nobody comes and questions you. It doesn't matter because you know the truth. And simple. Truth is Brahma. Brahma stands alone. Truth has no babies. It doesn't create the offshoots. The lies have a lot of babies. Then you have to, one lie leads to another lie, to another lie. Series of lies have to be created. So, lies is fertile. Brahma is brahmacharya. It's true. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Truth does not create anything else.
Right.
Whatever else happens is also the truth by itself. So all the truths are aligned by itself. It stands alone. So the purity of your heart is maintained all the time. And all this thing analysis will happen only if you look inside. If you develop a habit of finding what happens when I lie, what happens when I speak the truth, then you do not have to be given the set of values for moralities. You write your own Gita. You write your own Vedas. Doesn't matter. You write your own scriptures. Scriptures were written 5,000 years back. Has no value. Oh, a lot of things have changed. A lot of values have changed. Lokmanya Tilak said that all these Vedas were written 95,000 years. I mean, what difference does it make?
Yes.
What difference does it make? 95,000 is even worse. If it was written then, you should be looking for new scriptures. And yet, we cannot get out of the stronghold which is thrown upon itself. I went to one of the Swaminarayan temple in Parsipani for a talk. And I asked the kids, I said, what is Dharma? He says, Vedas. They are so happy. I mean, after all, what do they know? Until it's your own truth, that's not a scripture. You can read thousands of scriptures, but until you actually take a look inside and decide, yes, that's what makes sense, then only it's your truth. Then it's your scripture. Then it's your Vedas. Then it doesn't matter. Even Quran will teach you something. Even Bible will teach you something. It doesn't matter. At that level, consciousness will be your teacher. Then you will be your own guide. That yes, I lied yesterday, and these are the consequences that I'm facing right now. I'm not going to lie anymore. Things like that. Once you have the light which is lighted up inside, why would you walk into a wall? If you see the door right there, this is the path, why would you bump into the wall? Nobody would, right? So ethics and moralities, which have been going on for thousands of years, they are just beliefs. You cannot be considering them as the ultimate truth because it's not your truth. Until it's your truth, they are all lies as far as... After all, how do you know that Muhammad or Christ or Buddha reached enlightenment? How do you know? Just because somebody told you. Right? How do you know there is anything like enlightenment? How do you know there is moksha? How do you know there is nirvana? How do you know? Nobody knows. You find out. That kind of curiosity, if you don't have it, you're not making any progress. We keep doing and we keep kind of washing each other's back. We go to the temples and say, okay, what you're doing is what I'm doing. At the end of the day, we had a nice religious day and we are happy. We didn't do nothing. We still monkey, walking on 4 legs. We haven't learned how to walk on 2 legs yet. I'm talking about spiritual freedom, where you're not attached to anything. Your last piece of thread that is connecting you to your mind is this beliefs. The belief system is the ultimate corrupter of the ultimate consciousness. Consciousness is full of purity, is full of knowledge. It's absolute knowledge, absolute peace, and absolute power. And gets corrupted by these beliefs. It's our attachment, and it's our slavery to those beliefs. We get attached every single time we attach ourselves to any belief. It doesn't matter. We are becoming a slave to that belief because it's not yours. And until all the threads with all these beliefs are taken out, including the point that you are the body, you are your name, your connections with the world, you are a husband, you are a wife, you are a child, you are a mother, all those beliefs are just set of beliefs. And once you rise above all the true freedom will happen. The true freedom is by being yourself. That's brahmacharya, where the Brahma roams. Brahma is absolute pure, absolute knowledge and absolute power. And that absolute existence does not need anything else to be proven. You are by yourself. And that's an amazing feeling. So, the dichotomy, when we split the world into good